For 21 years, she had been quiet. 21 years of spending holidays together, going through heartbreak together, and having a man who told her that God wanted this for her life. Christine Brown sat down in a witness chair in a Utah courthouse on a cold Tuesday morning. She raised her right hand and said the one thing that made her ex-husband's face go white, made the lawyers stop talking, and made the judge put down his pen and stare. And as soon as she said those words, everyone in the room knew that this was never just a divorce. This was a time to face the truth. And it took 21 years to make. Let's go back. At the start of the end. It smells like old paper and coffee that has been sitting on a burner for too long in a Utah courthouse on a Tuesday morning. The fluorescent lights buzz above, giving off a dull, unflattering light that makes everyone look a little guilty of something. People who heard the name Brown and just couldn't stay away are already filling up the wooden benches in the gallery. Not celebrities or reporters, at least not yet. Marriage with more than one person. TV shows about real life. And now, a court case. Some of them have been driving for hours to get here. Some of them have been watching this family on their screens for more than 10 years. Now they are sitting 10 feet away from the real thing, which is quieter and heavier than the TV version ever was. Brown is suing Brown in this case. Christine Brown is the person who is suing. The defendant is Kody Brown. The charges are serious: financial fraud, intentionally causing emotional distress, and hiding marital assets that were built up over the course of a 21-year spiritual union. Christine's lawyers are also naming a second person in the claim of hiding money. That person is Robyn Brown, Kody's legally recognized wife and the only woman in this family who had that title on paper. Because what looked like harmony on your TV screen was held together by something much weaker than love, and it had been breaking for years. Before we go into that courtroom, you need to know how this family worked, or how it was meant to work. Kody Brown's life was built on a deep religious belief that plural marriage was not only okay, but also holy. He married Meri in 1990, and their marriage was both spiritual and legal. Then, in 1993, Janelle was born, in 1994, Christine was born, and finally Robyn was born in 2010. Kody legally divorced Meri to marry Robyn, they always said, so they could adopt her. 4 wives. There are 18 kids. One man is in charge of a very complicated wheel. For a long time, or at least that's what the show wanted you to think, it worked. There were fights? Yes. Yes. Jealousy. But there was also laughter at the dinner tables, kids falling over each other in the hallways, and a real effort to do something that the outside world couldn't understand. But this is the thing about reality TV. It doesn't show you what happens when the cameras leave. It doesn't show you the calm talks that turn into fights that turn into silence. It doesn't show you a woman who can't sleep at 2 a.m., wondering if the man she gave everything to still sees her. Christine was the first to see it. Or maybe she just said it first. And when she finally left, she took something with her that no one saw coming. A paper trail that was about to blow this whole family apart. When her lawyer put those papers on the table in court, the mood in the room changed so much that even the court reporter stopped typing. A storm front comes in from the west on the second morning, and the sky above the courthouse is the color of a bruise, deep purple at the edges and gray and unsettled in the middle. Outside, people are walking faster on the sidewalks and pulling their collars up against the wind. But inside the courthouse, everything is moving more slowly, like when something important is about to happen. The bailiff keeps fixing things that don't need fixing. Kody's lawyer is leaning into his second chair with a little too much urgency for a man who seemed so untouchable yesterday. The gallery fills up faster now than it did on the first day. Word has spread overnight, as it always does in small legal communities and close-knit TV fandoms, quietly, quickly, and with a little extra. There has been a change. Everyone in that room can sense it, even if they can't put a name to it yet. The information in those financial records not only changed the course of this case, but it also made Christine question everything she thought she knew about the last 10 years of her life. Dana Reeves starts the day with a motion to let in new evidence. She holds up a thick, heavy manila folder that tells a story before anyone opens it. She speaks to the judge in a very calm voice. Too calm, almost. The kind of calm that lawyers who have been through this before use when they know they have something that can't be undone. A series of money transfers make up the evidence. To be exact, 14 of them, over the course of 6 years. Each person took money out of a family operational account that Christine, Janelle, and Meri all contributed to through their household work, their wages, and their shared but unrecognized work. They then put the money into a private investment account that only Robyn Brown owned. The courtroom gets very, very quiet. Kody stays still. He keeps his arms crossed. His jaw stays tight. His left hand, on the other hand, is resting flat on the table and pressing down so hard that his knuckles turn white. Robyn blinks. 1 time. 2 times. Then she leans over and whispers something to Kody. Before she finishes, Kody's lawyer is already on his feet. Objection, Your Honor. This evidence was not made public in the pretrial filing. Dana Reeves doesn't back down. We got it 48 hours ago from a third-party financial institution that had been subpoenaed. We asked for quick disclosure at 7:45 last night, and the defense was told at 8:12. The judge looks at both lawyers like they are going to make his day very hard, and then he says 4 words that make Kody's legal team tense up. I'll allow it. Continue. Dana walks everyone in the courtroom through all 14 deals. She takes her time. She is very organized, almost like a surgeon, as she names dates, amounts, and the account they went into each time. The chart on the projector screen is easy to read, has colors that make it easy to understand, and can't be argued with. The total amount sent over those 6 years? $842,000. Someone in the gallery gasps. A real involuntary gasp with hands over the mouth that no one planned and no one says sorry for. The judge doesn't even need to call for order because everyone in the room is holding their breath. Christine looks at that number on the screen. She looks at it like you look at something written in a language you know but need a second to figure out what it means. It's one thing to think something is true. Seeing it glow on a projector in a courthouse while the man who used to call you family sits 15 feet away is a whole other story. $842,000. And Christine, who had stretched her grocery budgets, driven used cars, and told herself that sacrifice was sacred, had never seen a single dollar of it. Robyn Brown is having a very important and tense talk with her lawyer in a second-floor conference room. No one in the building is supposed to know about it. The afternoon session begins, and Christine is now on the stand. Give that some time to sink in. This is not a small matter. Christine Brown, who was the 3rd wife in a Plural family that the whole country saw on TV for 21 years, is now sitting in a witness chair with her hand raised, promising to tell the truth. She smiled through holidays, spiritual ceremonies, Robyn's adoption proceedings, and Kody's growing favoritism. The whole truth, and nothing else. She looks smaller up there than she does on the screen. But she also seems more real in some way. More here. This version of Christine, sitting under fluorescent lights with no producer in her ear and no edit button in sight, is the real deal, unlike the television version, which was carefully staged. And what she's about to say has been locked inside her for so long that letting it out feels more like surgery than testimony. Dana Reeves starts with the easy questions. The background, a timeline, how the family's money was supposed to work. Christine answers steadily and clearly, with the precision of someone who has practiced but also lived every word. She talks about the system. Every wife was in charge of her own home. They all put money into a central family fund that paid for big costs. The idea was always the same. Equality. Kody said that. Fairness. That everyone gave and everyone got something. That no wife was more important than the others. That the family was one unit, a promise, and a calling that was more important than any one person's comfort or complaint. Dana Reeves asks, "Did you really believe that?" Christine stops. And during that pause, something moves across her face. But it's not sadness. something older and tougher than sadness, something that has become clearer over time through quiet endurance. She says, "I believed it because I had to." And those 7 words come to that courtroom with the heavy silence of 21 years. Gerald Whitmore, Kody's lawyer, takes over for cross-examination and comes in strong. He questions Christine's grasp of the money matters. She wasn't a signer on many accounts, didn't have any formal business training, and wasn't there when investments were being discussed. He is putting together a picture of a woman who didn't fully understand what was going on around her. Now, with the help of a skilled legal team and the benefit of hindsight, he is turning what were just normal financial decisions made by the head of the household into a story of victimhood. It is a planned move. It would work on someone who is willing to let it work. That person is not Christine. "You mean I didn't understand?" she says. And there is an edge to her voice now. It's not anger exactly, but the quiet, sharp edge of a woman who has been underestimated her whole adult life and has finally, completely, stopped putting up with it. "I understood perfectly. I understood that I worked, raised kids, ran a household, and contributed financially and emotionally for more than 20 years. What I didn't understand was where the money I helped make was actually going. That is the question before this court, Mr. Whitmore. Not whether I understood business, whether he did what was right." There is no sound in the gallery. Whitmore turns. The lawsuit seems to be based on anger rather than real financial harm. Christine tilts her head slightly to listen to the question. Then, with devastating calmness, she says, "I left because I deserved better. I'm here because I earned what I'm asking for. Those are 2 different things." And in the gallery, a woman quietly wipes her eyes. She's not the only one, though. Dana Reeves comes back with a new direction, and this is when the afternoon takes a turn that no one in that room saw coming. She comes to a stop. She turns around. She asks Christine about a certain talk they had in March 2019, and Christine takes a breath that seems to fill the whole room, because she has never told anyone what she is about to say out loud. Robyn Brown, who is sitting at the defense table, becomes very, very still as she begins to speak. In March 2019, Christine puts it down carefully, like putting down something delicate that has been through too many close calls to risk dropping it now. She and Kody had been fighting, which wasn't unusual. By then, fights were a normal part of life that everyone had learned to deal with. But this argument had changed in some way. It was about money this time. About why some of Christine's household's expenses kept getting denied from the family fund, while others, specifically those related to Robyn's household, Robyn's kids, and Robyn's life, seemed to go through without a problem, without delay, or even a raised eyebrow. Kody had told her, as he often did, that she was causing problems, that she was ruining the family's spirit by making everything about fairness, that plural marriage required everyone to make sacrifices, and Christine's refusal to accept that was the real problem, and always had been. His voice had that flatness that it gets when he knows the conversation is over before it even starts. But then he said something different, something more quiet. Something said in that low, slow voice he used when he wanted to make a point without sounding like a threat. He warned her that if she kept pushing him about money, she would learn things about the family that she would rather not know. Then he stared at her for a long time without blinking. After that, he left the room. He told her that if she kept pushing him about money, she would learn things about the family that she didn't want to know. He had looked at her for a moment, and then he had left the room. Christine talks about this in a flat way that only comes from going over something so many times that it no longer has the same power to hurt you. But the courtroom doesn't take it that way. The sound of something clicking into place in the courtroom is like a key turning in a lock. It's something that has been waiting a long time to fit. Gerald Whitmore gets up right away. Rumor. Characterization. Emotion masquerading as evidence and submitted to this court as a falsehood. Dana Reeves answers without raising her voice at all. Your Honor, this testimony goes straight to the defendant's knowledge and intent when it comes to hiding money. It goes to state of mind. The judge thinks about this for exactly 4 seconds. I'll let it happen. Kody speaks after the silence. Not too loud. Not a problem. 3 words, spoken quickly and quietly to his lawyer. But in a courtroom that big and at that quiet of a time, the microphone on the defense table picks it up with perfect, merciless clarity. She's lying again. Christine slowly turns her head and looks at him. Simply looks at him. No shaking, no crying, no kind of performance. Just a steady, final, completely unbreakable look that holds all the pain and suffering she has been through, and all the things she has survived, and all the things she came here to say today. That look, calm, steady, and certain, is worse than anything she has said in the last 2 hours on that stand. The judge says there will be a break for 15 minutes. In the hallway outside, a courthouse worker tells a coworker in a low voice that she has never seen a gallery sit that still for that long in 30 years of working in this building. Robyn Brown is sitting at the defense table and staring straight ahead at nothing. She has her hands folded on the table in front of her. Her face is calm. But the woman sitting directly behind her in the gallery, who is a close friend and has known Robyn for years, will later say that she saw Robyn stay calm for exactly 40 seconds after Kody said those 3 words. And then, just barely, it broke. By the time court starts up again the next morning, something big has changed inside that building. In the case, and in the air itself. The news cycle has taken bits and pieces from the testimony from the day before. The judge's media restrictions are still in place, so nothing direct or from inside. However, courthouses are porous, and enough has leaked through cracks, coffee conversations, and parking lot whispers that there are now 3 news vans in the lot and a line at the public gallery door that goes around the corner long before it opens. People standing in the cold with their collars up, breathing out clouds of air, waiting. No matter what happens in that courtroom, the world outside has already made up its mind that it wants to see it. Today, Janelle Brown is supposed to testify. Christine's testimony was bad, but Janelle's is going to be something completely different. Something that can't be ignored, pushed aside, or changed. Janelle has always been the quiet one. The one that makes sense. The person who stayed when others wavered. Who kept her thoughts to herself and stayed calm. And who chose function over feeling so often that people forgot she had feelings at all. Janelle Brown has always been the quiet one, the practical one, the one who stayed when others wavered. The reason she stayed all those years is also the reason that what she is about to say will be impossible to ignore. She walks to the stand like a woman who has come to terms with something hard. She isn't shaking. She sits down in the witness chair, adjusts the microphone, and folds her hands in her lap in a way that makes it look like she's been getting ready for this moment for years, not weeks. Dana Reeves goes over the timeline with Janelle more carefully than she did with Christine. More detailed. Because Janelle comes from a different background. Janelle had worked in the financial field, had taken care of Kody's business's payroll at different times, had been given, more than any other wife in that family, a small look at how the Brown family's money worked. Partially. That word is very important. What Janelle is about to say is the exact and very annoying difference between what she was shown and what she has since learned. She talks about the accounts she could see. She talks about the accounts she knew were there but could never get to. Then, in a calm and measured voice that sounds like someone who has run the same numbers 100 times and gotten the same answer every time, she explains the difference. She could follow the money to a certain point. TV revenue, business income, licensing deals connected to their very public family brand. And then it always, without fail, disappeared. She was sent to a structure she had never been a part of, and that was never explained to her. Dana Reeves asks, "When did you first notice this?" 2017, Janelle says. Steady, sure. But I didn't really understand it until a long time later. Why not? And this is where Janelle stops. Not with Christine's feelings, with something cooler, more weighty. The exact weight of a woman who has done the math and is now just giving the results. Because understanding it, she says slowly, would have meant admitting that I had been building something my whole adult life that wasn't what I thought it was. And I wasn't ready to do that. And it might be the most honest thing said in that courtroom. It moves through the gallery like a wave, a quiet, collective sigh of recognition from people who, on some level, get what she means. Whitmore's questioning of Janelle is much less harsh than it was with Christine. You can tell that he is changing his mind in real time. Every time someone tries to make her testimony sound like a complaint after the separation, she calmly and clearly counters with specific dates, documents, and conversations that are on record. He takes a different approach and asks her why she stayed until 2022 if she thought there were problems with the money since 2017. That's a good question, Janelle says with sincerity. I stayed because I had kids. There is no legal way to leave a plural marriage, and there are no automatic protections. Leaving meant starting over from scratch. I had to be sure before I did that to my family. Whitmore agrees, then leans a little bit forward. And are you sure now? Janelle looks him in the eye. Here I am, right? Then she spins around. Not near Whitmore. Out of the judge's sight. She looks Kody in the eye and says, I gave you everything I had. I need people to understand that. I gave you everything. She doesn't shake or act. Kody looks her in the eye. And for one moment that isn't guarded or edited, something crosses his face that looks a lot like grief. The court is over. Janelle walks back through the gallery and past one seat that has been empty since the trial started. Meri's chair, and tomorrow morning the judge will get a motion from a lawyer that no one saw coming. Meri Brown's name will be on it, and no one in that courtroom will know which side she's on.